31 points separate the top two in the LMP1 class, but if we turn our heads in the direction of LMP2 and GTE, we see gaps of 3 and 5 points respectively. The brief Pacific leg of the season kicks off today and sets us up for what looks like a tense championship battle in the slower classes. But Phillip Island is known for putting on frantic races here in the Autobahn series. We could yet see a game changer if anyone finds themselves sidelined before the checkered flag falls. We'll see how it all shakes out as we get ready to watch round 12 of the Autobahn Motorcar Group's Sportscar Challenge. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me at the booth covering the LMP1 and LMP2 classes is Bill Soup Zahn. Keeping us up on the GTE class is Taylor Burris. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Taylor, Phillip Island's got a reputation down under, but I think our American fans might not know this one as well. So why don't you tell our audience a little bit about it?
Of course, and welcome everyone to Victoria, Australia, and the Phillip Island Racing Circuit. This 12-turn, 2.7-mile or 4.4-kilometer track is one of the biggest tracks known in the Australian circuit, most famously known for races such as the V8 Supercars Series and the World Sports Bike Series. Sports car racing does have its major here with Australian GT racing and, of course, amateur sports car racing. To give you the fantasy what it is like to take on this twist and turns of a Phillip Island racing circuit, let's go on board for a GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Taylor Burris in the GSRC 4 GT, so let's do a lap around Phillip Island. You'll be getting a ton of speed down the front stretch, but the first corner isn't ideal for passing. Doohan is a fast sweeper with no braking, and for the most part will probably be single file. The first braking zone is honestly into the southern loop, where passes are possible but tricky. This is a long left-hander that's off-camber, includes a few elevation changes among its two apexes. It's easy to botch. Ideally, you'll want to focus on getting the exit right the most, because it leads towards a very popular corner for overtaking. Stoner is of course easily flat out, so hug the left side and set yourself up for Honda. This hairpin will see the most action, but it's surprisingly easy to send it in too deep. However, if someone pulls in over-under, they'll find themselves on the wrong side of the track up towards Siberia. Because of that, you won't usually see passes happen into this uphill bend. It's probably wise to square off this exit because the elevation will continue to rise here on the back half of the course. You won't be lifting on your way through the S's, and you'll start to get a pretty good head of steam. But at the end of this is Lukey Heights, where you're essentially braking and turning on your way into it. This is one of the most difficult corners of the track, tending to leave you fighting with understeer. Plus, it blends directly into the braking for MG. The steep downhill plunge makes it embarrassingly easy to come in too hot. Then it switches back into the penultimate corner, where you've got to be patient with the throttle. From there, you now fly through Swan. It's not quite flat out, but it'll be very important to carry your momentum as you return to the front stretch. Otherwise, you'll find yourself in a game of chicken with your competitors on the way down to Doohan. But hopefully, if you've kept it all together, you've now finished a lap around Phillip Island. You see a lap here around Phillip Island. We've currently got qualifying going on, but before we touch that, let's head over to the points because 3 rounds to go, including today, Bill. It's coming down to the wire.
You heard Joe talk about it in the opening there, where we'll start with the LMP1s. This one looks to be pretty much set up for deep freeze here, as Jason DeBreeze has a whopping 31-point lead. And to go along with it, he's got those 22 drop races. So lightning is going to have to strike not only once, but twice for Jason to really run into enough trouble where Cy Andrews is going to be able to run him down. A couple other drivers to keep an eye on. Mike Young is doing really well as he was able to pick up another podium last ride out. Daniel Gralty and Robert Tinsey just, Bob the Blade just doesn't quite seem to have the same feel he has for this car as he did in the prototypes before. Let's go to the LMP2. The LMP2 class here. We'll look at, this is an interesting story. Scott McGarvey is leading the way, looking to pick up his first championship. Look at those drop points, though. He has 0. Now, Jason Girard also has 0, and as last time I looked, Jason wasn't here yet, so look for him to fall down. Billy Smith is sitting on the pole. He could be quick with plenty of time to catch McGarvey for the championship. Ross Booth and Carter Kundinger joins the overlay on the bottom. Let's go to the GTEs. This is where it really gets interesting. Stephen McGarvey up in front, but only by 5 points on Paul. Oh, my darling. Darling coming off a win last night in the Masters. Is going to take tonight off, it looks like. Cash in some of those 26 pocket points insurance that he has sitting there. But Bradley Haley is in third. Alex Simonek has the most wins, but might be too far back in 40. And then there's this new name that we've just stumbled across. Dakota Fripp has joined. He is kind of the fly in the ointment here. He's going to be fast, sitting second in qualifying right now. That guy has an I rating of 7,000. Could be good. Let's go to the GTE amateur standings. This one looks pretty much a lock for Paul Lindsay. He's up by 20 points on Kevin Santana, and points are harder to come by down in the amateur class. So a 20-point lead could be insurmountable. Samuel Scott, Emmanuel Ejiri, and Tim McLeish rounding out the order there. Finally, we go to the team championship, and it's once again SRN Motorsports, the black team, with Gralty, McGarvey, and Huff leading the way. 29 points, not all that big in a team championship. Remember, there's 3 guys that are scoring for it. So Wilton, Booth, and Hill for TMC Racing still have a legitimate shot to get the win. TMC Carbon, SRN Motorsports Orange, and Autobahn Motorsports West round out the overlay. Joe?
Fascinating how these have been developing over the season, and it comes down to this here at the end. Well, what about today, though? We mentioned 3 rounds left, so let's go to Taylor with the race details. What are we looking at today?
One thing is this track is going to be very difficult to pass with lap traffic, especially on difficult corners such as Siberia and up through Lukey Heights. Drivers are going to have to be so careful when making passes on these slower traffic cars and pick and choose when that time to come down is. Of course, also, is making sure that you have your setup proper for this track. This track, even though I've been saying for a few weeks with other racetracks of a roller coaster type feel, this is ridiculously difficult fast as we're closing in on the 7th season with 12 rounds left to go. Joe, this is going to be quite the race for these, as these drivers are going to have to deal with a lot of things tonight.
Yeah, and it's going to be a 90-minute race, and of course, as you mentioned, setups open. They've restricted the fuel, so you can expect 2 pit stops out there today for these drivers. And incident cap being at 36. They will be disqualified if they hit those 36 incidents. They have no spare car, and that will play a part because you can get some damage around here, even though the walls are a little bit far away in places. So watching the qualifying right now, you know, Bill, the thing that always is on my mind when we get to multi-class racing here is the way that the nature of this track is, the way it weaves back and forth.
It puts on a great show. It puts on a great show for single-class racing. The problem, and I can speak as a back marker, and then if you're in the slower classes as well, you talked about it, Joe, left, right. You're not really sure when you want to come across the track. It makes it really difficult for multi-class racing to avoid incidents. Plus, just to make matters worse, we're going to go 90 minutes today instead of 60, so it gives them a little 30 more minutes to make a mistake. Should be interesting if you keep your nose clean. Phillip Island, always fun to race on.
So, Bill talked about Simonek and how well he's been racing, how many races he's won, Taylor. I mean, do you think he has enough of a chance to try and run these drivers down with how well he's been performing lately?
That all depends. One of the things is he has to continue winning these races for the remainder of the season. And of course, all these races, different racetracks up ahead of us, including like Suzuka and a couple of other tracks, is even just as difficult to race at. So if Simonek can continue with his winning streaks and not finish outside the podium if he doesn't win, he may have a slim chance, but he's going to need some help as well as McGarvey and Haley will have to have some very bad races, along with Paul Darling as well. He might have, if he has to not show up for the remainder of the season, for maybe to give Alex Simonek that chance he needs in order to pick up the championship.
Yeah, Taylor, that's a good point. Not only closing the distance to the leader, that's doable, but the problem is he's got to pass not only that, he's got to pass the other 2 drivers that are between him and the lead. So, yeah, it's a tall order.
Well, and speaking of that tall order, Bill, you mentioned Gerard. He'll be having that big setback of not showing up today, it looks like. I think one driver that won't be sad about that setback is Billy Smith. He had what seemed like a little bit of a run-in that left him disappointed. Now, it didn't seem like there were ill feelings, but after what happened with those two making contact at Silverstone, this sets up a very good opportunity for Billy to maybe, I don't want to call it redemption, but this will be a nice little feather in his cap if he can run away with this one.
No, those two drivers, and we're talking about Jason Girard and Billy Smith II, they've raced together a lot. They got together. They respect each other. It's going to happen. I don't think there's any, I don't think it's going to carry over, although drivers do have a long memory. My dad used to say the axe forgets, the tree remembers. I'm not sure how that's going to play out. But yeah, I think we're going to be fine on that. That's a really interesting class, though. The thing that's kind of interesting on that is how steady McGarvey is. He just doesn't make mistakes. Looking to pick up that first championship. So Billy Smith on pole today could sure use the win.
We just saw on screen Bradley Haley finished his most recent lap and goes up to third on the grid down in your class of coverage, Taylor, in the GTEs. That's just behind newcomer Dakota Fripp. Now, Bradley, you would think most people would be happy with the P3, especially right behind a world championship driver, but he finished in that position at Silverstone. I'm not sure that Bradley's got what it takes to take this championship.
No, he would need a lot of help in order for Bradley to even have a shot at that championship, in my opinion. But a lot of things can happen. We've seen stranger things. We thought Alex Imonek would be the points leader by this point in the season, and yet he's still having to struggle. So Bradley Haley could maybe pull a rabbit out of the hat, but it's very unlikely. So we'll have to really keep an eye on seeing what he does here tonight at Phillip Island, because a lot can happen very quickly at this track.
Take a look at Christopher Sherburne here. This is what they call the last chance qualifying, which has mixed class qualifying. Now, the reason that you have all three classes able to be out there right now is basically they have individual qualifying for the three classes in the first 45 minutes. Each of them gets their own 15 minutes, and then the drivers who can't show for the set 15 minutes in their class, well, they're allowed to come out here in the final 15 in mixed class to try to get one in. Now, it sounds like, maybe drivers could get an advantage if they come out and it's pretty empty like you see here. Well, they have a rule that if you set a lap out in your official qualifying session for your class, you are not allowed to set foot here in the mixed class qualifying, the last chance quali, as they call it. It's just to keep people from trying to game the system. Now, they can elect to wait if they really want to, if they think it'll be pretty empty. But again, they cannot control who comes out there, so it is a gamble still. 3 minutes left in the qualifying as Haley continues on his way around to try and improve on that 1:23.6 to overtake Dakota Fripp. At least one other driver from his class is out there, but it seems like he is struggling. That is Christopher Sherburne, currently last in the GTEs, 17th overall. This is mercifully somewhat of a small field today here, Bill, so hopefully that will alleviate some of the traffic problems that we could wind up with out there.
A couple things to remember. When we first started covering this series way back in season 4, that last chance qualifying should have been called the Billy Smith II qualifying session. He used to work, and he used to be able to sneak in right at the very end in his Cadillac and dominate that, what was then called the GTD class. He picked up the championship there. Hey, how about fans of this series will be happy to that the big cheese is here. John Ulmer is going to make an appearance, fourth in the LMP1s right now.
Yeah, and I wonder how he's going to perform, though, because he already was struggling in those LMP1s, and having taken what I assume is a little bit of a break since we haven't seen him in a couple races, he might have a little bit of a relearning experience out there. We'll see how he does. You never know. It could be chaotic today, and he could find himself finally getting a win in that LMP1 class. Let's see what Sockrider does as he carries it onto the front stretch. Currently a 1:18.6, and a 1:18.4 is going to improve for Sockrider. That means that he will be in 6th. I don't think he actually improved position by gaining that time, though. Oh, he did. Okay. So he did jump up at least one there.
Yeah, I think the small field is going to make things a little less chaotic over these 90 minutes. That, and these drivers this season, I thought have done a really pretty good job of putting on good championship. They know the rules now.
Yeah, and hopefully, especially after last night, we saw a number of these drivers racing in the major series, the Americas region. So I wonder maybe if some of that good behavior that we saw would carry over.
So the forum used to be full of driver instructions, how you handle lap traffic, hold your line, do this and that. That was the previous season. I just don't see that as much anymore, and I think the racing shows.
Absolutely. So 20 seconds left here in qualifying, and I think Sherburne should be able to complete this lap. Yes, he will be able to, even though this will be his final one. And David Sockrider, I think, will get one more himself because he just crossed the line, but he did not improve that time. Sherburne is the only other driver out there besides Sockrider trying to improve their qualifying position here today. He's coming up around the S's up towards Lukey Heights. This is near the end of the lap. Down into the heavy braking. That is MG after this long left-hander and that 4GT as he hugs the left side. Just about gets off the apex, unfortunately, a little bit wide through that hairpin corner. And then from here, just a tiny lift is all he's going to need to take it to the line. He's got to do better than a 1:26.6 right now to improve on his time, at least. McLeish in front of him is about half a second up. Let's see what he gets here on the front stretch. Is a 1:26.8. He does not improve. Sockrider also down into MG corner. That one looking a lot tidier for the HPD driver. Bringing his LMP2 car into the pits. Not going to take his final lap. So that's going to solidify our qualifying here today for round 12 of the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge. Let's bring you the grid. On the pole, it will be Cy Andra, and it's almost a half a second back to Jason DeVries. Looks like DeVries will have something to work for today to try and beat Cy. Daniel Gralty with an excellent qualifying, put himself on third, and then the second row is rounded out by the big G's, John Ulmer. Lionel Duprat starts from fifth, and he'll be followed by Brandon Guarcia in sixth position. 7 cars, so slightly bigger than what we saw at Silverstone out here in the LMP1s. Mark Wilson starts in that final spot with the fastest class.
Then we'll go down to the LMP2s, and it is Billy Smith II on the pole, looking to go wire to wire, trying to close some ground on Scott McGarvey, who's going to sit outside of the next row is Ross Booth and Kevin O'Keefe. Then we go down to the man who is not Rosen Sheldon, it is indeed Sheldon Rosenboom. Sitting down there in the 5th position. He's going to be inside of David Sockrider, who's off to that qualifying run. Chris Pence and Alan Haseback round out the final 8. Taylor?
Starting on the pole in your GTE class will be Alex Simonic, followed by Dakota Fripp in second place. Bradley Haley and Lee Peterson will start in third and fourth, with Stephen McGarty rounding out your top 5. 6th position will be Ryan Huff, followed by Dave Hill in 7th. Dean Moe will start in 8th position in class, followed by Emmanuel Igiri in 9th. Mark Gradowski will round out your top 10 in the GTE class, followed by Robert Kansian in 11th. Kevin Santana will start in 12th position, followed by Matt Owens in 13th. 14th goes to Samuel Scott, 16th, 15th goes to Sheldon Woloshin, 16th to Tim McLeish, and 17th, rounding out your 33-car field, Christopher Sherburne.
All right, cars are gridding up. We've got a little bit of time. We come to that traditional question here in the Autobahn series. We'll go to Bill first for he and Taylor's picks.
Oh, page 17 of the GSRC Commentator's Handbook says put in drama whenever you can. Sorry, guys, I cannot do it. I think we are looking at wire-to-wire for Cy Andra today, and I think we're looking at wire-to-wire for Billy Smith II. Now, when you get down to the GT3s, who knows what's going on down there? What do you think?
Well, to be honest, I'm going to be definitely keeping an eye on the new kid driver here today, Dakota Fripp. He's definitely been showing quite some speed during practice, but you know what? You can't go wrong with a winner already. Alex Simonic, I think he'll also take it wire to wire.
All right, just a couple more cars that need to grid up, then we'll have a rolling start. They'll split the classes, and we go racing for round 12 here at Phillip Island. This one is probably one of the more anticipated ones here at GSRC. As I mentioned, We've seen races with Autobahn at Phillip Island before. They've been pretty wild. They've thrown up some unexpected results. We'll see what this one manages to do today as the roof pace car now takes them up to Doohan. So these LMP1 cars and LMP2 cars, I would assume, are easily flat out. But Taylor, I know you had to do the lap guide out there. It seemed like you couldn't quite keep your foot in it through there in the Ford.
No, you have to let it breathe a little bit in some parts of the track, especially this turn 1 right here. You have to let it breathe just a little bit, otherwise you're going to wash up and go out to the grass a little bit, which will spin you out. And then there's, of course, several other parts of the track where you have to let it breathe. But even the final corner, where you see these LMP cars just flat out going through there, you got to let these GT cars breathe a little bit. Otherwise, again, like in turn 1, you're going to wash up and go into the grass. So these GTE drivers are going to have to be very careful with their throttle input, and of course also on the braking and having to deal with lap traffic. It's wild, it's hectic for these drivers. It's going to be also fun to watch back here in GT.
I have no doubt about that. So slightly bigger LMP1 field will mean just a couple more cars that those slower classes will have to deal with weaving their way through. Bill, I've been reading the forums, though, and it sounds like the word is they might actually get rid of these LMP1 cars next season. So these next few races might be the swan song, excuse me, in Autobahn to see the craziness of them having to weave through these slower cars.
Mixed views on that one. Some people are glad to see him go. Some people really like him. We talked to Syander last round. He likes all the toys he gets to play with. He thinks that brings in a different element into the racing. It confuses me. I know that. I end up... Nothing I touch ever makes the car go faster.
Let's see that GTE class coming around Siberia. To me, one of the more unique corner names in racing, as they come up to the upper half of the course. Now, this is one I always forget, and I think it's you, Taylor, that usually educates me. 7 doesn't have a name, but 8 does? Is that right?
I believe it does, too. I'll have to double-check my notes on this one, but yes, I believe Turn 8 does have a corner name. I know Honda Corner was one of those in Turn 4, I think, that we were talking about earlier today about the track. So that is one of the difficult corners as well. I remember running the DGFX a couple of seasons ago and actually having a little bit of trouble going through that section of the track.
All right, we'll see who has trouble where. So as they come out of the final corner off of Swan, Jason DeVries, or Syander rather, has control. Accelerates away. Green flag is out here at Phillip Island, and immediately Andra gets a jump over Jason DeVries as they hit Doohan. In fact, they're already single file every single one of the LMP1s, so let's go to the LMP2s.
Billy Smith gets a nice jump. There is a battle for second, though, right now. Scott McGarvey able to slide into that spot. Ross, Booth, O'Keefe, and Rosenbaum round out your top 5. Taylor?
Going into Doohan Corner, it is still going to be Alex Simonic, followed by the new kid on the block. Actually, Simonic is actually still holding on to the lead. Right behind Cahoda Fripp is holding on in second. Bradley Haley still trying to hold on strong in third, but he is under pressure by the Porsche of Leif Peterson as they make the run down towards Honda.
Pretty good start here for all 3 classes. Didn't see any issues, at least from our angles. So as we head back to the LMP1s, DeVries has not been challenging Cy. If anything, he's been looking at his mirrors at Daniel Peralti, who's hanging on the back of that yellow and black machine.
One driver able to make a move. Brandon Garcia was able to get around Lionel Duprat, so he moves up into 5th.
And we did have a car starting from the pits. Mark Wilson in the LMP1s is having to climb through the LMP2s. Shouldn't be too difficult, although I'm sure they don't appreciate having to have a faster car coming through without the blue flags. It's going to be 1 down on his list. Chris Pence gets demoted in the overall standings, as Wilson's got quite a few seconds up to Lionel Duprat, the next car in line in that LMP1 class. What about the GTEs? Well, we saw a pass on screen almost, it looked like. As we go back to Dakota Fripp, currently in second in the GTE class. Simonic trying his best to try to shake the newcomer, but it's not working. Behind them, very close action between Haley and Leif Peterson.
Yes, indeed. Leif Peterson doing his best, trying to break this 3-car breakaway of the Fords, but right now, Leif Peterson is going to dive to the look to the inside, not going to be able to make the pass. McGarvey, though, in his Ferrari gets a little bit closer, as you see Leif Peterson trying to find a way up to Siberia. Looks to the inside, shows that no, not going to be able to. Now they're going to make the run down towards 7 and Hayshed, up through there before they make the run to Licky Heights, but still, Leif Peterson just following the tire track of Bradley Haley.
Currently, Haley able to hold them off as we jump off board of Peterson. And watch him stuck in the middle between both McGarvey and Haley down into the MG corner and around the penultimate turn. And it sounds like we got a little bit of a battle behind them between 6th and 7th.
Yeah, Dave Hill and Dean Mole battling it out right now. These two Ford GTs coming out of the final corner. Down the Gardner straight they go. Hill's been closing in a little bit after these few corners. He's going to utilize a little bit of slipstream to try to close up, maybe take a peek before they get to Duan. He goes to the inside. They're going to go side by side, possibly. Nope, he thinks twice. Very difficult to go side by side through this corner, but now he's going to utilize that later entrance, go in and up through turns 2 and 3. Oh, he's going to have to be careful, though. He can easily wash up the track through this section, but sticks his nose again to the inside. They're going to go side by side as they head through Stoner and maybe see if they can outbreak him going into Honda. Still, it's going to be Hill side by side with Dean Mole. Hill is able to overcome, but they still watch. Nope, Hill decides to outbreak him. Mole gives way to the position.
Fierce fighting at the start between those two, and that's caused them to lose touch with McGarvey up ahead. We don't have to go to it, but I can report that we had an off between Rossi and Ulmer. They did not touch. They both just went wide down into Honda corner. Gralti, though, is already in the pits, and I'm not entirely sure why. I'm not sure. Let's see, maybe a little bit of damage on the right side. Oh, and he just got it fixed. It bumped back into place. So, yeah, something must have happened to Gralti. Let me see if I can find exactly what happened that caused this.
He made contact. He made contact with John Ulmer. This is coming out of Honda.
No, it was in.
Yeah.
It was in Duhan.
Yeah.
It was the first right-hander.
So the Big Cheese kind of did a little bit of an elbow there. So.
Meanwhile, we switch over to the GTE battle for 4th. That's Peterson holding off McGarvey. Steven, our current points leader, down in that class. Excuse me, no, he's actually, where is Stevens in that points right now? So he continues to chase the Porsche.
Stevens has been doing a lot of work right now on Peterson, been putting that pressure that he needs to try and catch back up to those top 3 Fords currently leading. As we see McGarvey now going to go up Lukey Heights. He's going to try to take his nose to the outside. Now to the inside they go before they make the run downhill to MG. You see Peterson go over the curb a little bit. Got to be careful with that. Now breaking into MG. You see Peterson go a little bit later in the braking, but McGarvey gets a good exit off of MG. Up through turns 11 and 12 they go. This is a good time to see if he can utilize a little bit of slipstream and maybe take a peek to the inside before they go into Duan. Come out of turn 12, down the Gardner straight. A little bit of slipstream can come into play right here on this straightaway. As you see Leif Peterson try to shake it a little bit going up, set up for Duan. There was McGarvey going to show his nose, peek to the inside. There he goes, side by side into Duhan. Peterson gives way, move McGarvey up to P4 and on the hunt for Bradley Haley.
And he'll need that position. I did check. I was right that McGarvey is our points leader down in the GTEs. But here's the interesting stat about him is his last time winning was at Mosport, or excuse me, Interlagos, excuse me. Interlagos was his last time to win, and he hasn't finished higher than 3rd since then. So he's had his points lead chipped into steadily.
Both the McGarvey brothers lead in their classes right now, and they're both doing it kind of the same way, just kind of be consistent. Boy, the LMP1 guys are up into traffic right now. As we look at P4 and the LMP2s.
This is a battle between O'Keefe, who we're riding on with right now, Sheldon Rosenbaum giving chase behind him. And that is the likes of Daniel Gralti trying to make his way by in his LMP1. He's laps down now after getting his repairs. So he'll break up the fight for a little bit as he goes the long way around down into Honda. The long, long way around. Guns it off the corner and eventually gets it done. So on to the back half of the course now. Kevin O'Keefe still trying to do all he can to hold off the likes of Sheldon Rosenbaum. Rosenbaum coming off of a podium, I believe, last week at Silverstone.
Have to be right on board. You know, a fun thing to look at might be the leaders in the LMP1s right now as they are working their way through the traffic. This is Cy Onder doing his very best. Boy, he is stuck right behind Dakota Fripp. He makes it around there. We don't know much about Dakota. We know he's fast. We don't know how good he is getting out of the way. There, he lets Deep Freeze go by. Now they go underneath Alex Simonik. Look at the one from De Vries coming up on the back of Andra.
And we've seen this before with De Vries and Andra being very closely matched. So we now ride on board with our leader, looking back at our current points champion. And one thing I've noticed, you mentioned about not knowing much about Fripp. It looks like he's a teammate of Simonik. They've got similar paint schemes, just different rear wings. So I'm wondering if that's what brought Dakota in.
You know, that GTE class notorious for bringing in these kind of ringers with some interesting names. Dakota Fripp. Then we also had Dallas Pataska coming in there, kind of cowboy names. I'm just, get Daniel Boone and Davey Crockett, Rocky Raccoon down there pretty soon. Dakota
yeah, little sad that Dallas hasn't shown up again because he was here for a number of rounds and has suddenly disappeared this one. Oh, big mistake from the likes of Kevin O'Keefe. If we could go back to the HPDs, this is coming out of MG corner. Now he hasn't lost his spot, but Sheldon Rosenbaum is a whole lot closer, and I think he's going to make a pass attempt here. Whole lot of slipstream. Oh, and that actually looks like a little bit of a lift. O'Keefe going to give it up.
That actually is the first pass on track for anybody in that class. They were racing in the same order they qualified.
See and look what set this whole thing up. I've always found MG to be a little bit tough here, Bill. Just that downhill braking.
I think he had a pretty good run out of it. It just came around Swan, and I think it was just close enough that boy, he did not put up much of a fight. You'll see as they come out here. When they get on the straight, it looks like there's the mistake. But I'm not really sure that played a factor because he loses all of his momentum. I'm talking about Rosenbaum, but he gets a good run off of Swan, and then O'Keefe just kind of gives it up.
Yeah, didn't seem interested in fighting, and as we come back live, I think I see why, because Rosenbaum has already left him behind, so maybe he figured his battle was better at just trying to run his own pace. And indeed, already Sock Rider's starting to close up behind him. And I have bad news for fans of the Big Cheese. He's already entered the pits. Let's see if we can figure out what happened. He's been in there for quite a while, so I'm not sure that we'll get a replay. Ooh, and it was a big incident. Unfortunately, we won't be able to see it, but he had a loss of control in the southern loop as we go to this battle for fourth in GTEs, and just took a serious tumble out into the dirt.
The fans love John Ulmer, but he's notorious for shooting himself in the foot. The only time he's not shooting himself in the foot seems like is when he's reloading.
So we watched the likes of McGarvey leading Peterson away. We saw him pass him earlier, but Peterson not giving up on it. Back in 9th through 11th. We got a few train of cars that Taylor's been watching.
Yeah, the battle between Kevin Santana along with Mark Gradowski and Robert Kansian have been battling it out right now. They have Daniel Gralti and LMP1 now breaking it up just a little bit. But Kevin Santana been doing well, working his way up through the field, working to try to get by Mark Gradowski. The two Ferraris going now out of turn 12 down the Gardner Straight. Let's see if we see Santana utilize a little bit of slipstream and slingshot his way back as they make the run to Duan. Not close enough at the moment as they've now been kind of broken up with that LMP1, but we see Santana closing in out of Duan as they make the run to Southern Loop. Gotta be. I've lost my car through this corner so many times. As we see Santana getting loose now. There he goes. Hold the brakes, Santana, as best you can. Don't want to go over that area right there where that dark dirt area is. You'll easily possibly crash against the car.
Let's take a watch from the view of Santana on this one. Pretty good catch. Just unfortunately, it wound up taking him onto the grass for a little ride. Just about gets it back in time.
And the first car on the scene was the LMP2 leaders of Billy Smith.
Now, the good news for Santana is that I do not see Lindsay here today. So his main rival is not going to get points out there. They both have drop points. So I think he'll be saved some by that. But Kevin Santana is going to make inroads on that AM championship.
Yes,
Let's drop in on Stephen McGarvey real quick. Car number 64, 7th position in the LM overall. As he's coming up on the back of Kudrowski and Cancion. Now Billy's, oh, careful. And look at this, here we come with the blue car. That is Ross Booth. That's Scott McGarvey going through. There we go.
Yeah, Scott McGarvey. Sorry, you had said Stephen. He's down in the GTEs. We were watching him, but around the long way around, it looks like Booth trying to get the position away as they swing the other way around through the southern loop. I think he's finally got it done. Scott McGarvey's not going to take that one sitting down, though. He comes back at him, gets a slipstream, looks to the inside, outbrakes him into Honda, but can he get it to turn in? Yes, he can. And Scott McGarvey retakes second place.
There we go. Once I steered the director in the right spot, we had a little bit of action with that.
I was just as confused. I was looking at Steven and not sure what action you were describing there. A lot of traffic that they've got to try and work their way through is not going to allow Scott to be able to get away quite yet. That's Manuel Ejere just ahead of him as he lets them through, but that battle is going to look like go in favor of Mole there, Taylor.
Yes, indeed. Well, Mole actually lost it going into Honda, having him washed up, which gave Ijiri the position into P7, but due to the fact that those two LMP2 cars, where Ijiri had to check up through MG and go a little bit the high line, that gave Mole the opportunity to sneak in through the inside and take back position number 7. So, but it looks like now with that time lost, he's got a little bit of work to do, Emmanuel. As they go into Duan, it is still going to be Molt in the P7 position.
I tell you what, at the very top, Andra and De Vries are not far apart by any stretch of the imagination. Bill, it's Silverstone all over again.
Oh, and this is De Vries back there. Oh, there's the mistake. Couldn't get the words out in time. Andra gets it back though.
Off track, and the southern loop just drifted wide off into the marbles as he tried to overtake some traffic, and that hurt. What was less than a second between them the other way around is now 3 seconds, with Andra being behind De Vries.
To finish the thought that was in my head was he sitting back there just waiting for Andra to make a mistake. Before I could put the period on the sentence, Andra made that mistake.
Wow, so this will be fascinating to see if the 24 can chase Jason back down. If he's got anything in him. Up at the top of the screen, we saw that Daniel Gralti, despite being many laps down, actually I guess 1 lap down it looks like, he set the fastest lap of the race. So he's hustling the car. That McGarvey-Booth battle has not gone away. The 64 still in front by about half a second. Traffic really playing its role so far.
Our brothers going at it there as, let's get these right. Scott McGarvey goes around Stephen McGarvey, being chased by Ross Booth. Let's see if Stephen helps his brother out and makes his car a little extra wide here.
There's a little lockup there from Scott up ahead of him down into Honda. Which didn't help him get away, but the GT traffic certainly slowed up the likes of Ross Booth, so it evens out, I think. Oh, and what's happened to Emmanuel here, Taylor?
Going into Southern Loop, he had a little bit of issues, went off course, but was able to get back out on track. As we look at the replay coming on screen, just was a little bit too late. Had a little bit of LMP1 traffic as well. Same thing that kind of happened with him when he was going through MG. Just LMP traffic kind of messed him up a little bit with his corner entry, sending him back into the grass, into the kitty litter, back out on track. No damage to the car, though, so he will continue on.
So we come back live. We might want to go to fourth in the LMP1s. We got a little bit of a battle in the mid-pack there. Mark Wilson has Lionel Duprat starting to catch him. This has been coming down bit by bit.
The car right behind Wilson right now, though, that is Daniel Gralti. He's one lap down, so look for him to go around. As they come up, they work behind the car of Christopher Sherburne.
Tries to stay out of the way, and that compromises the line slightly for Gualti and Wilson. But Lionel Duprat.
Oh, let's go to DeVries. We get a quick replay. It just happened. DeVries got loose. I thought this was going to be worse than it is. He came right up behind Sheldon Rosenbaum. Scheck locks the car up, and then I think it's a little bit of a touch from Stephen McGarvey.
I think he managed to get away without it. Let's watch on the replay. You can see he's already having to deal with traffic through the southern loop. There's McGarvey and the orange and white Ferrari just up ahead of him. He's going to get past, and then the HPD, he's flashing his lights, letting him know he wants to get by, but you got to get the brakes right. Whew. Couldn't see from that angle whether there was a touch or not as we come back live. Doesn't lose him the lead. He's now shortened it slightly because it's 7/10 between Andre and DeVries.
Boy, it looks like so much fun to be in those LMP1s, though, working through traffic like that.
I'm guessing it'll depend on who you ask on if it's fun inside the cockpit rather than watching from outside. Probably feel like a rocket ship in there compared to these GT cars. We're getting close to that first pit window, though, here. 30-minute stints, usually what you see in these LMP1 cars in this series. Speaking of which, we're getting one of our GTE drivers in early, Robert Cancian. They've got a little bit of a wider window. So as that independent driver gets his first one out of the way, the gap has now gone down from 7/10 to 3/10 between DeVries and Andra. Up ahead of them is the likes of Ross Booth now, and Andra's got a big run coming down the front stretch. He gets on the button. He flies on past and retakes the lead just a few laps after losing it from his own error. I tell you what, Bill, I couldn't tell you who is the faster driver right now between Jason and Cy.
Especially since you're not sure how much of the toys that each one of them was working, but Andre was well back, about almost 2.5 seconds after he took his little trip through the alfalfa, but he got it going. Now he works on the back to Scott McGarvey. Man, this is so tricky.
Yeah, HPD's have a lot of downforce, but not nearly as much as the LMP1s. That's going to give an opportunity for DeVries, who's got to go a little bit wider around the HPD. As they come up to Lukey Heights, he's still within striking distance. He stays right in the tire tracks of Cy Andra.
You can see how sharp Andra was there coming out of Siberia. He laid back so that he could get a good run. He could have been a lot closer, but then his momentum would have been horrible. You could actually see him laying back till it was time to go. Boy, that's some smart racing from those guys.
We had an incident with Lionel Duprat just now, and he was on the back of the driver that he was challenging, Mark Wilson. This was into Honda. And it looks like it was started by Wilson, actually. Let's watch here. Wilson locks him up into the hairpin, and Lionel was so close, it looked like he... we saw Wilson there on the replay just at a moment trying to squeeze by the GT car. And he tried to turn in there into Honda, but there is an LMP1 in the way. So that battle's going to have to regroup. Duprat gets set back about a second from Wilson. If you're a fan of the HPDs, well, there's not a whole lot of action going on right now there. The closest fight we've got is for fourth between Rosenbaum and O'Keefe, but otherwise, they've split apart.
Yeah, Scott McGarvey was able to get that spot back. He was in a battle with Ross Booth for a while. Now, the fun battle, though, is with Dakota Fripp down there in the GTEs. He's trying to get up to Fripp has had some issue. He was in second a second ago.
This was just recently, maybe about 40 seconds ago. David Sockrider tried to make a pass to the inside, and this has cost Fripp second place. Haley got through. This is out of the southern loop that we're seeing right now. You'll see a blue and white HPD come up behind him. Booth thought that he had some room to the inside, tried to make a late move. Excuse me, I guess that wasn't Booth. That was, who was that got into him?
It was David Sockrider.
Sockrider, excuse me. Yeah, Sockrider. Similarly painted card. Completely turned him around. So Dakota's got to hope that he didn't get too much damage from that.
Bradley Haley says thank you very much.
Oof. Yeah, Sockrider saw it coming, but saw it coming way too late to try and pull out of the action. Haley up to second now, but 4 seconds behind Alex Simonik.
Britt was doing a good job of sticking on the back of Simonik, making him work for it, but too bad. Learning curve. This can't come in there and start winning. Gotta pay your dues.
How steep is the learning curve, though, for a black stripe driver? So can't be too much of a shock for him. All right, we're getting very, very close to that pit window now. So who are we going to see come in? Will Dakota potentially try to come in to get some damage repaired, depending on how his pace is? Back in sixth, we got a little bit of a battle in the GTE class.
Ooh, almost a little bit of contact between Dave Hill and the Ford GT with the LMP1 car, but he was in a bit of a battle between Leif Peterson as they were having to be separated now, but going now down the Gardner Straight into Duhan. Dave Hill's been doing really good this race, working his way up through the positions. As we see the LMP2 in front of him trying to get by Leif Peterson. Ooh. A little bit of contact, pushing them off the track.
I don't think they touched, but Chris Pence certainly got scared off out of his way.
He sure did.
Let's watch Pence's view here. Yeah, he was coming up, and unfortunately, I think Peterson did not expect the LMP2 car to appear so suddenly because he was trying to take the racing line.
As we see on board there, he is trying to go a long way around, and then Peterson decides to go up just a little bit. That was not too comfortable for Chris Pence. Of course, he just has to take the escape route into the grass.
Puts him down to 8th, unfortunately, in the LMP2s, which is the last of them running, and Sheldon Rosenbaum has elected to take his stop now. All right, so seeing some of those guys, and just going by him now is a battle for 4th and the LMP1s, Bill.
Mark Wilson being stalked by that fluorescent blue machine of Lionel Duprat. It's been close. It goes closer and then stretches out a bit. Traffic has a big thing to play about it. They come up behind the leader in the GTEs. That's Alex Simonik. It's going to be a race down into the corner, and they get there first, but not for Duprat.
So,
a big Ross Booth. I think this just happened. Am I right on this? I don't want to jump you too back. Hang on, director. Oh, maybe not. It might have been a ways back. Sorry.
Yeah.
Ross Booth was racing. Yeah, was racing in 3rd in class.
So he's still currently holding that 3rd position. But the interesting thing I wanted to note about the battle between 4th and 5th, between Wilson and Duprat, to tell you how difficult these LMP1 cars are to drive. They're still in 4th and 5th, but they're already 55 and 56 seconds back from the leader. We're only half an hour into this race. There's a lot to learn in these cars.
I had the privilege of talking with Sai about how they set up this car and everything like that, and just all of it, him trying to explain it, just having the button settings on your steering wheel can make your head hurt just by all what you have to do in order to make these cars work really well. I mean, you have the battery recharge, you have the boost, you have the fuel savings, you have all of this, and imagine having to do this, you know, in real life as well as on the sim for 90 minutes or for 24 hours.
Oh, we've had an interesting development in the HPDs. Rosenbaum has been in for a long time now, and I went to investigate. We probably won't be able to get a replay because it was a long time ago, but he took a wild ride coming down to the southern loop and smacked it right into the tire barrier that's just to the inside of the first apex. That's why he came in when he did, and with no spare car, he's having to spend a lot of time to get that thing back in shape.
A lot of action in that class with Rosenbaum having that trouble, Ross Booth having his issues that we weren't able to see.
Meanwhile, battle for 8th in the GTE class. Kedrowski and Ijere are working their way out of Siberia. Very close between these two. As you can see, we ride on board with Kedrowski looking back at Emmanuel, just a couple car lengths behind.
They've been battling for several laps right now, going up through Luki Heights, heading the run down to MG. As we see Ijiri get late on the brakes, he's going to try to see if he can maybe cross over coming out of MG, not close enough to maybe do it. Through Swan they go, and up through turn 12. Got to see if we can make a run down the Gardner Straight into Duan as they go through the turn 12 one more time. Through there, get enough speed, get the power down the Gardner Straight, try to get into that slipstream as best as he can. He's closing in on Kradowski, going down the straightaway, heading to Duan. Let's see if he peeks his nose out or just going to follow suit. Nope, LMP1 traffic going to try to break it up a little bit, but this gives a chance for Ijiri to look to the inside. Kradowski still side by side going into the southern loop. Nope, I think Kradowski's going to be able to hold on and beat Ijiri, but Ijiri's not done yet. Out of the southern loop, he gets a good run, but has to back off because he had nowhere to put the car to get the pass completed on Mark Kradowski.
Magnificent save by Mark there. With the way that car was getting loose through Doohan, I thought he was going to take a trip to the kitty litter very quickly. Now they've got more company in the form of Ross Booth behind them. He could interrupt this fight. He's going to get by Emmanuel into Siberia, which splits them apart for a moment and allows Samuel Scott to close in. Doesn't really cost too much to Mark Kedrowski in the process.
No, actually, he might have gained a little time and pulled away from Ijiri, but Samuel Scott's now coming into the picture right behind them. He's in P10 in that Porsche. He's making the run down into MG, trying to close the gap still. Ijiri, though, closing in a little bit through Swan and making the run to turn 12, but more LMP2 traffic is coming up right behind Samuel Scott.
Looks like pit stops are starting to take place, at least in the LMP1s, Bill. I see a number of them having been in and out.
Wilson did his, but the question is, did we get to the point of the 1/3 mark? I think we are.
Yeah,
we're looking at like 59 to go. I think we're safe here. So I'd like to go to the leaders right now, as I think they're both probably going to come in this time. They work their way around that lapped car. That is Sherburne. Let's see if they both come in.
Yep,
1,
both.
2. Yep.
Who's practiced it better, though? Entry in. Ooh, it looked like DeVries gained a lot of time on that pit entry.
He sure did. The cones are at that line. He picked up a lot when they were in the alley there.
And Duprat is going to, well, he's already in his pit stall as well with them. I think Gralty is yet to pit, but he had his one early stop. Pratt gets back out. And
now
actually,
neither one of these guys are going to be able to play around here. They need a full tank to get there.
did Wilson get some damage that we missed? Because he was stationary for 35 seconds compared to Lionel Duprat, who had 18 seconds, which is closer to what we saw from the leaders.
Yep. They both come out. Look at them stuck. Oh, getting in between them. Speak of Mark Wilson, there he is. But he's a lap down.
Oh, but look at DeVries go wide. He saves the car from going out in the grass miraculously. That cost him some time. Still waiting on the HPD drivers to take their stop. A little bit of a lockup from Cy Andra. He also has Leif Peterson, who gets back on track after an off in Honda. This is going to hold him up and allow Jason DeVries to regain the time that he lost from his error down into the southern loop. Already looking side to side on our current leader, but Cy Andra not going to give it up quite yet. Into MG, tucking it in. As we get a little bit of cloud cover here today, it's cooled it down slightly. It was at 80 degrees just a few moments ago. It's already down to 78 degrees on the track. Pretty good conditions here today. A little bit windy, it looks like.
Well, those Aussies will handle it. they're a tough breed.
Well, do we even have any Aussies here today in the group?
I'm talking about the two-dimensional fans.
I see.
I'm always thinking about the onlookers.
Well, I don't think the audience cares about what the those guys are feeling right now. Wow, I saw that 3 wide moment there. That was Chris Pence having to let Andra through, and he goes completely off track when DeVries gets to the inside of the hairpin. And Stephen McGarvey was the GT car as all 3 of them combined. Booth comes in for a stop. So he's taking what we believe should be his scheduled pit stop. Got a little bit of action going on back in 8th in the GTEs. We were watching them before, Taylor, and it seems like they're still going at it.
They still are, but Samuel Scott has closed in on this battle between Igeri and Kradowski. They're going through Siberia right now. This is the 98 Porsche of Samuel Scott. In front of him is the 99 of Emmanuel Igeri in his Ferrari, while Mike Kradowski in that 944 Ferrari is still leading this pack of 3 cars as they get out of Haystead, going up to Lukey Heights before they make the run downhill to MG. I tell you what, though, watching Emmanuel, he's been really getting late into the break into MG, and as we see a little lockup from Kradowski, though, but Samuel Scott's been closing in lap after lap, running very good lap times between these two. Actually was the fastest out of all 3 of them, so keep an eye on him.
HPDs are seeing some of the major players come in. Bill?
Our leader has come in, Billy Smith. Scott McGarvey, though, is going to get himself credit for leading the lap. He's going to stay on at least 1 more.
And you see Billy Smith coming out now. O'Keefe also in. Interesting to note that you saw Smith take that extra lane. They are required to take that outside lane on the pit exit to make it safer.
And any undercut hopes from Scott McGarvey is going to be short-lived, as he was stuck in a horrible traffic as he had to get around Dakota Fripp.
O'Keefe returns to the track in 4th place, and Scott's coming in right now. Only driver in the HPD is yet to come in is Alan Haysbeck at this point. Smith is already coming up the hill towards Lukey Heights, and Scott McGarvey still has yet to hit his pit stall, which is right now.
Unless McGarvey's got some type of trick up his sleeve, this should be an easy overtake for Billy Smith.
Yep, standard pit stop for the 901. And Scott McGarvey, clock ticking up towards the same time. Let's see if his is any shorter. He's just finished as Billy Smith goes by. No, he's not finished. Oh, it's a long stop. Scott McGarvey. Ooh, this is not good. Where's Kevin O'Keefe? He's the next car back that's pitted. He's coming around Swan right now. And he's bringing Haysbeck with him. McGarvey is down and out. He's getting his speed up, but Kevin O'Keefe has a head of steam. So does Alan Haysbeck, not Haysbeck, Ross Booth.
Oh, my! That was Lionel DePratt almost got into Scott McGarvey coming out of there.
Excuse me, that's who I was looking at. Yeah. So it wasn't a battle for position, but it is now between Scott McGarvey and Kevin O'Keefe. This is the fight for second place. Takes a little bit of a peek down into Honda, but decides against it.
Really long stop from McGarvey, so now he's got issues with O'Keefe. There's a battle for second in class.
What's more dreadful than looking in your mirror and seeing a lawyer back there? Kevin O'Keefe hounding Scott McGarvey, trying to see if he can do one better than last race at Silverstone. Now down to 52 minutes to go, getting close to halfway through this race. And there's more traffic coming up behind them in the form of our overall leader, Cy Andra, who started to split away from Jason DeVries. There's about 1.5 seconds between himself and the number 19.
Well, this is going to work out good for Andra. He's going to go through. DeVries is not going to get these guys. Oh, he is. Oh, my goodness. The closing rate between those two classes, I still cannot get used to.
Oh, but he doesn't quite get past McGarvey. But it looks like Andra's going to be held up slightly by Matt Owens, who is now ahead of them in a GTE car, which is probably worse news because they're so much slower through the corner. And indeed, it cuts down the gap from 1.3 seconds to now 0.4. This is becoming more and more eerily similar to what we saw at Silverstone, where these drivers couldn't seem to get more than 2 seconds apart from each other for the majority of the race. Bad news for Cy Andra is that the race did not end well for him, and he had a 5th place finish due to an error of his own making. Oh, we got a car off. That is Chris Sherburne.
Yeah, he had an issue earlier this lap. He's just being really careful getting the car back out on the track.
And actually, he hit the wall. We might want to get a replay of this one. It's about a minute ago into Lukey Heights for the number 135. Let's see if we can find this. Started to lose it on the way into that uphill left-hander. Oh, just about got it. Let's see if this one's far enough back to give us a look at the incident. Here it is, perfectly right here. Oh, it just starts to wobble on its way in. Well, and he didn't hit anything initially.
No, he just took a long time doing his Y-turn there. He didn't want to back it up into traffic.
Very polite, but it cost him a lot of time. So as we come back live, we're starting to get more GTE cars coming in. Oh, and Sherburne, where is he off now? Is that Siberia? I think that's Siberia. Well, his other cars in that class that are coming in right now are the likes of Fripp, McGarvey, Hill.
And I believe Mark Kradowski beat them off pit road, as we saw Bradley Haley get a little bit loose coming out of pit exit, clip the grass after that pit road exit. Keep an eye on the time charts, but I think maybe Mark Kradowski short-pitted that pit stop.
Well, with them having a bigger window, they could do a long one and a short one. Let's see. It was 52 seconds. No, that was a long stop for Kudrowski.
I think he might have had to repair some damage. We'll have to take a look at the time charts when we go back around. But this does bring things back together as we see Bradley Haley leading over Alex Simonic, and there's Dean Mole right in front of them as well. Peterson is about 17 seconds ahead, so he has yet to pit. But this is the battle for, I believe, the first lead of the race once Leif Peterson comes down pit road. Nope, he will have to pit.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. Simonic about 5 seconds slower in his stall. So Haley managing to jump him. Oh, but a car behind having problems. It's a why me moment for Kevin O'Keefe.
Yeah, Kevin had lost, as we see Dean Mole pulling into the pit lane there. Kevin O'Keefe had lost touch with Scott McGarvey. We saw them come close together as they came out of pit lane. And then when they came on behind that battle between Haley and Simonic, O'Keefe thought he'd take the opportunity and got loose.
And Kevin warned against this sort of thing happening because Bill, he said between the 24 and then the 2.4 that he ran in the majors, he said he was pretty tired coming into this one.
I think he might have been a little bit frustrated there because he came out right next to McGarvey, and then McGarvey just drove away from him.
Yep, so staying in third but losing ground up to the 64.
Well, that Haley battle, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, I believe all of our GTEs are done pitting, so this gives us a good picture. Bradley Haley, now your leader. It's been a minute since he's had a win, and Dakota Fripp looks like he is a little bit too far back to have a part in this because of his earlier problems.
Yeah, this is back to where these two drivers battling it out as always. Bradley Haley, Alex Simonic now are going to go back as they make the run down to MG. They have Samuel Scott, a lap traffic car in front of them as we see Simonic try to take the long way around but sets up for Swan. Now tries to close in as they make the run to turn 12. Still not close enough. We'll have to keep an eye, see what he does down the Gardner straight. Coming out of turn 12, you still see Bradley Haley able to leapfrog Alex Simonic in the pits. We see Samuel Scott go off course. He gets back on track, no problem at all. But Simonic trying to close this gap now. I guess all that clean air now that he had, it makes a little bit of a difference as we see him struggling just a little bit to catch up. As they come out of Duon, here we see Kevin O'Keefe coming by these two leaders right now into the southern loop. This is going to maybe break them up just a little bit, but Kevin's going to try to stay the outside, let these two battle, but this is going to be close. Here comes another one of LMP2 cars. Nice transition through there, no issues at all. Bradley Haley still going to hold on to the lead in the GTE.
That is a battle for position in the HPDs. Ross Booth giving chase on Kevin O'Keefe. In the background, Sam Scott. We caught a little glance of going off track in the southern loop.
Went about as far as you could go without hitting anything. Good job from him. Just to drill down a little bit on this Haley Simonic issue, the guy this kills Dakota Fripp is in third. Your points leader, Scott McGarvey, is in fourth. So the interval between Haley and McGarvey, pretty large. This is going to be a good point state for Bradley.
You're going to hate me, Bill. Stephen McGarvey in fourth right now. Down there in the number 1 car. But yeah, he's... it is tough. They both start with S, too. It's really... I get it confused all the time. So there you can see Stephen really in no man's land, unfortunately. They finished 5th last round. A string of third places were much better for him. Yeah. A 4th, again, not bad, but he's got to start beating some of these guys.
Yes, he does, but he's having the difficulty right now, especially with the new driver of Dakota Fripp coming in.
Back up into the overall lead. DeVries still trailing Cy Andra by about half a second. Let's stay with this, but I do want to note between Haley and Simonic, Haley's last win was in round 9. We're in round 12 right now. So it's not super long, but that's the lone win that the 428 has seen this season.
Well, there's not a lot of wins to go around down there with Simonic. Has a bunch of them, so whatever crumbs she can pick up is kind of what's going on there.
So not a lot of action happening here at the top. Let's take a look at Simonic and Haley because they are very close heading up into MG, and Simonic taking a little bit of a peek, but nothing doing down into MG. They've got the likes of Braulty having to pick his way by through the penultimate quarter and out between there, and Swan doesn't interrupt. Beautiful timing from him, but onto the front stretch. Simonic's looking ever closer here, Taylor.
He is. He's going to try to make a run before they go into Duhan. He closes in, utilizing that slipstream, peeks to the inside now. They're going to go side by side, possibly into Duhan. Oh, Bradley Haley gets really loose through there. Has to give way to Alex Simon. A great save by Bradley Haley down into the southern loop. Now Bradley Haley now has to be the chaser as he tries to come out of the southern loop, try to gain ground back onto Alex Simonic. But I think now that Alex is back out in the lead in clean air at the moment, he is going to start trying to pull away from Bradley the Comet Haley.
Boy, nobody calls Alex chicken because he won that game of it down into the first corner. As we go back to Andra and DeVries.
You heard me giving up there because I really thought DeVries was going to make a move. He's really beginning to bother me now as he continues just to pester Andra. Remember, Joe, that's how he made the pass the first time. He just sat back there and was annoying like a little sister, and then Andra finally made a mistake.
Yeah, and I think it's not just that he's sitting and waiting around, because I'm looking back to third place. They're a lap ahead of the next car. These are the only two cars on the lead lap in the whole field. I'd say they're putting on a hellish pace out there. Is almost contact between Andra and Christopher Sherburne. Just in the wrong place at the wrong time. I think he managed not to touch him. That once again brings DeVries up to the gearbox of Size Porsche. They now have to go by Samuel Scott and his GTE. He stays out of the way. And despite the moment of crisis, Jason not able to get by. "42 minutes left to go." We've passed halfway here. And with all of our GTEs having taken their stop, why don't we take a moment to run you down? Oh, no, let's not, because another off in the very same place for Cy Andre. He hands away the lead yet again.
Deja vu.
DeVries screams away, and once again, it is 2.5 seconds, nearly 3, between the 19 and the 24. With that breaking that up, let us actually run down the top 5 in each class now. DeVries recently, having taken the lead, hounded Cy Andra into yet another mistake. Cy Andra has been trying desperately to take the championship, but is so many points back, this is certainly not going to help his case. He sits in second today. Lionel Duprat, the first car, a lap down, but still on the podium. He is in third, and his quicker pit stop helped him over Mark Wilson, who is currently in fourth spot in the LMP1s. The last of those of that class that is still running is Daniel Gralti, another lap down from those ahead, and the number 47 in fifth. Bill?
Beth is your leader in LMP2s. Now, chasing him the whole race has been McGarvey. That is the Scott edition. Now, he came out close to Kevin O'Keefe, remember, out of that pit stop? Well, O'Keefe has really gone south. It's now Ross Booth races in third, and he's got about a half second on O'Keefe as O'Keefe tries to stay with him, but Ross Booth seems to have his number. Then a guy we have not talked much about, and that's Alan Hasebeck, looking to get a top 5. He's about almost a second behind O'Keefe. Taylor?
Alex Simonek still doing the best of what he does, is winning races and leading them. He currently is leading the race again after that pit stop cycle and getting back by second place driver Bradley Haley. Bradley doing the best that he can. He was able to get by the teammate to Alex Simonek, and that is going to be Dakota Fripp, who had a little bit of issues early in the race and is trying to recover right now, but still has a long way to go. Back in the fourth position, that is going to be Stephen McGarvey, our points leader, that number 1 Ferrari, trying to get back and into the podium position to try and hold on to that points lead that he desperately tries to hold on and keep Alex Simonek right behind him. Rounding out your top 5 is going to be Dave Hill in that Ford GT number 13, doing a great effort here tonight, worked his way up through the field and back into the top 5. He's going to look for a good finish here tonight at Phillip Island.
How quickly things change. I thought it was going to be another couple laps before we'd see Andra a factor, but Bill, was it traffic or what brought him back in?
That was Cy Andra that brought him back in. Cy's quick.
Wow.
It's the same thing that
Very
he did
quick.
before, yeah. Now, it might be traffic. It might be that maybe DeVries is a little more cautious going through there. But it did not take long for Andra to run him down. Sometimes, Joe, the second car through can make better way of it through traffic, because the guys get out of the way and the second guy can come through a little easier if they work around Sheldon Woloshin right now.
Woloshin, though, unfortunately, on the inside of Lukey Heights, which means Andra out in the marbles, loses that time once again. Yeah, and the other thing is just that simply when they get one car through, I guess if you're close behind, they're already heads up. So sometimes the drivers are already in that mode of looking in their mirror, waiting to see who is coming behind. Good news for Daniel Gralti fans. He's only got one more of the HPDs to get back with his own class. It's Billy Smith leading up in the 901.
Nice battle for 8th overall. I guess it would be 3rd in class. Ross Booth and Kevin O'Keefe. I talked about Kevin O'Keefe having about a 2nd lead over Alan Haysbeck. I misplaced my decimal point there. It's about a minute over Haysbeck. So these guys are
just a small calculation error. Yeah. Boy, O'Keefe really got back on his horse, though, as Ross Booth in his sights has to worry about that podium going back to Rutgers Kev. He got it last time in Silverstone. He's looking to do another down under. Not close enough to pull the slipstream down the front stretch this time. And as these two fight, there's really not a fight at all between Billy Smith and Scott McGarvey in the HPDs. So it's honestly the battle for the lead is in the LMP1s and the GTEs and the HPDs. This is the only fight we've got down for 3rd.
Taylor, I want to ask you a question, just as kind of a fan. When I'm thinking about this battle between Simonic and Haley compared to the battle between DeBreeze and Andra, one battle has all the slow cars in their windshield. The other battle has fast cars in their rearview mirror. What would you prefer? Yeah, I guess it's got to be easier if you can see what's coming, right? I would think that Simonic and Haley probably have a harder time of it. As we talk about that right now, you can see Billy Smith, the leader of the LMP2s, going through.
Well, one thing is with these cars is, yes, it is, you have to keep an eye on back, and you might think it's easier, but due to the fact of the closing differentials between these GTE cars and the LMP1 cars, even the P2 cars sometimes, it is very difficult. I've seen several drivers having issues to where they think they're able to go to a certain point on the track, but yet that LMP2 car gets, or the LMP1 car gets so close that they have to back out and go a different route. I actually saw Simonic and Duprat going down the Gardner Straight the last lap, and nearly Duprat took out Simonic just by a quick reaction from Simonic, was able to get him out of the way. And even with Bradley Haley, he had an issue with Chris Pence going down the Gardner Straight a lap earlier than that, where Chris Pence had to cut through the grass, and Bradley Haley had to move over a little bit to get Chris Pence back out on track.
Right on board with the Comet right now, just behind Alex Simonic, who's going to get a slipstream from Christopher Sherburne. And Sherburne's going to let one through, but probably not two as they hit Doohan. This is not good news for Bradley Haley, as the driver who has won the majority of the races here in the GTE class gets that extra bit of slipstream. Haley looks like he might get it here. It depends on if Sherburne also peels out of the way before they get to the braking zone and lets him have the racing line, and he doesn't. Oh, in fact, he hits our leader. He runs right into the likes of Simonic. They had an LMP1 car, Mark Wilson, beside them.
Oh my goodness, that is something that I was not expecting at all.
It looks like Simonic was suddenly rattled because Haley looked to the right side when Simonic didn't expect it, and then maybe he just missed his braking point?
That's what it definitely looked like for what we saw. I mean, what in the world just happened?
I think it's the hardware era.
You think that?
It could
I don't
be.
know.
I didn't see tire smoke from his brakes. Let's watch one more time. Oh, no, we're going to go back live. Excuse me. So, Stephen McGarvey is now finds him. Well, no, only Simonic only lost first place. Oh, he's in the pits now. No, he's in the pits, so Dakota Fripp is going to take second, and Stephen McGarvey is going to move up to third.
I looked back at the replay of that. I did see a small bit of tire smoke and then just back on the gas from Sherburne. So it could have been a mix of hardware or just missed completely his braking point. I mean, he was in the mix of an LMP1 and two GTE leaders.
Could have been the Mama Jean syndrome where you hit the gas instead of the brake pedal. I know that happens to her at 96, so we had to take her license away. Oh,
we got to go back to our overall leaders because Andra Now only 2/10 behind, and they got a little bit of traffic. Could he get a run? Oh, it doesn't look like it's going to work this time. They've got 2 more cars, Hill and Owens. Whoa! Hill almost gets into him. Hill locks it up, tries to stay out of him. That holds up the likes of Syondra, who tries to play it cautious. Nobody runs into each other, but it was oh so close. And just as we look at the replay, Matt Owens spins the car and gives it back to Hill. Watch Hill completely lock him up. My goodness.
And then that yellow car, just the next corner of Matt Owens, loses it.
We come back live. That's going to move Dave Hill up to 4th now. And actually, that wasn't battle for position with Owens. Looks like he is laps down. And he's having some trouble. He had another off track just now coming through MG. And wow, already we're seeing in the text chat that Simonic is going to he's congratulating Bradley for the win. Maybe he's trying to invoke a curse of some sort on him. I don't know. I mean, we still got 31 minutes left, and Dakota's 8 seconds back, which is a long ways to catch up. But we've seen, I mean, gosh, that came out of nowhere that Simonic got taken out. So the same could yet happen to the 428.
Yeah, I mean, Simonic was just minding his own business. Did see that LMP1 car. Next thing you know, here comes a Ford GT right by in contact. I mean, what more unexpectedly could you expect at something like this happening? And Bradley Haley's still probably wondering what in the world just happened, but he's got to make sure he remains focused and tries to hold on to that lead. But I'm pretty sure he's going to be a little bit careful now when he gets around traffic going into Honda.
We're watching Haley, but we need to switch over to our LMP1 leaders because they're close once again. And I think Andra might have an opportunity down into the first corner. He's in the slipstream, but he runs out of track as they hit the right-hander. They went through a ton of cars there. That was the likes of Fripp, Hasebeck, and Kadrowski that they squeezed through.
DeVries did a good job of playing chess there, positioned his car perfectly that Andra didn't have room on the top side to make that pass.
Still staying with him. Less than half a second behind that yellow and black number 19 of Jason DeVries. 6 wins so far this season for Jason. And though Andra has proven fast, we've seen today, we've seen in the previous round that he has been a little bit mistake prone. And Mark Wilson comes in.
Right, we can stay on these LMP1 leaders. It might be pit stop time this time around as they come up behind Haley.
Yep, just exactly 30 minutes to go. They're going to stay out, though.
One more.
I think these pit stop...
Yeah, want to run it as long as you can. I think here comes Andra if he wants it. Boy, is he going to force the issue down into the... Nope, he'll wait.
Same story as last time, it looks like. Just inches away from being able to stick his nose in. And I think these pit stops are going to give us an opportunity to talk to Alex Simonic, who has come into our booth after he's retired for today. So let's pull him in. Alex, what a disappointing way to end this one after you've been on such a streak of good finishes here. What are your thoughts on the incident?
I don't know. It's just a league, and at least I can walk away knowing that it's not my fault, and I can also walk away knowing that it was fun battling up until then with Dakota and Bradley.
Now, in the last set of pit stops, he managed to jump you out there. Did that surprise you?
Kind of. I noticed that he underfilled because I was thinking to myself, like, what if he just underfills? And as soon as I said that, I just heard his car revving and just went. So I was like, all right.
So obviously this is a big setback in any hopes that you had at maybe getting in the championship hunt. So what does this do for you on the final 2 rounds?
Just go out and just try to win. I know people on track and know my dominance in winning in the series, and if I don't win in the championship, it doesn't matter.
All right. Well, commiserations, and hope to see you 2 weeks from now.
Right. Yeah.
As Alex Simonik DNF'd early here with a little more than a half an hour left to go. We're continuing to watch this battle for the lead in the LMP1's Andra, still in the tire tracks of Jason DeVries.
What'll be interesting is I think they will come around this time. Last time they took a pit stop, DeVries was really good in the run-up to the cones. Let's see if he can put gap on her like he did last time. Here they come. Come on, boys, don't make me a liar. Oh, we're working our way up to Lukey High.
Yeah, they're still they still got a couple corners, but they're close. Through Lukey Heights, just 2 more corners before the pit entry. Got a little traffic ahead, so this might be a good time to pit. That's Dean Mole that you see in front of them in the 4GT. DeVries is staying to the left side, so is Andra, and they are pitting in. Let's see if Andra learned how to take the pit entry a little bit more aggressively, and that looks a lot better from him.
Yep.
What about the pit stops, though? Are we going to see any difference between these two?
Now it's all math. You want to take enough fuel so that you can race without having to conserve, but you don't want to take any more fuel than you need, because passing is going to be hard.
Both of them into their stalls. It's about 20-second stops for a normal stop in these cars. At least it was last time by. Maybe slightly shorter with them coming in with 26 minutes left to go. That's Andra that you see in front in the white machine. The green one, Jason DeVries, or the yellow one, Jason DeVries.
DeVries went up on the tires. His car went up on the jacks.
Is that intentional?
I can't get between his ears, but I would assume he's a pretty sharp guy. Tires with 26 minutes of racing to go.
Will that be enough of an advantage? Jason DeVries, let's see what the clock is once it evens out here. I think 15 seconds between them with 26 minutes. I would not think that that's enough of an advantage. Yeah. Wow. He may have just thrown away the victory there.
Well,
okay.
Give you an interval. Looks like 13 seconds. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll see if it shrinks.
Meanwhile, the rest of the field is staying incredibly behaved. We've lost most of our battles. O'Keefe, who is chasing Booth, has fallen back to about 4 seconds. Billy Smith, who we haven't shown a whole lot of, he's probably, if he's listening, he's probably shouting for us to get the camera off of him.
I don't think he needs this right now. Nothing good will come by putting the camera on the 901.
26 seconds. Yeah, 26. Well, that's 20 seconds back to Gralty.
Gralty doesn't count.
26, 27 back to Scott McGarvey. McGarvey is his main rival in the points. Let's look here. Yep.
McGarvey leads and Smith trying to run him down.
13 points between them right now. And yeah, a single position between them is not going to make huge inroads, but it's something.
And just to expand that McGarvey point battle, and we're going to talk about Stephen McGarvey, with Simonik now out of the mix, that means there's only one driver between those two, Haley and McGarvey, and that's Dakota Fripp. So once again, Fripp's appearance, it might have more of an implication than we might think when we get down to the final race.
Well, and Haley is currently, looks like, Haley is a long way behind McGarvey. So he definitely needs Dakota to stay there. He is currently Dakota's biggest fan.
But even the interval between first and third is different between second and fourth, which is where Haley was scheduled to stay if Simonik gets the win. So it's good news altogether for Bradley Haley if he can just bring it home here these final 23 minutes. And
one of our LMP2s is pitted. Kevin O'Keefe takes his final stop. Hopefully he gets a little bit of a break and maybe take some time to not race for a little while after a busy weekend. See him waiting to get the fuel finished in the car, and then off he will go. This is a very spread out field. Some of that, I think, helped along by the fact that We've only got 26 cars left out of our 33 starters. It is not whittled down significantly, but a chunk out of a small field tends to see a lot fewer cars out there than when you have a lot, stating the obvious. But
well, I'll tell you, if you're a driver watching this broadcast right now and you have Jason DeVries in your rearview mirror, get out of the way because he's on a mission.
Yeah, he's cut it down another 2 seconds.
Go. Yep.
That's about 4 minutes. So 2 seconds every 4 minutes with 22. That's about 5.5 of those. So 5.5 seconds. It's not. Or no, that'd be 5.5 times 2. I'm doing math, Bill. This is bad. That would be 11. He'll be right there.
I think he's got a legitimate shot at it.
You also got to throw in the fact, too, Cy had made mistakes, especially through the southern loop as well. So, got to throw that factor in as well. If Cy makes another mistake, we could see DeVries get right back to the bumper quicker than that.
Absolutely. Oh, it's going to be oh so tight. Cy Andra really needs this win. And it is now under 11 seconds as DeVries continues to charge forward.
Right behind DeVries. I called for it last race. I guess I was one early. A podium for Lionel Duprat. He's going to get one today.
And
Come on, Lionel, bring it home, baby.
He's beat out the likes of John Ulmer, Brandon Guarcia, Daniel Gralty, and Mark Wilson for it. Some of those pretty fast names. So the number 18, as we ride on board with him, might as well give him a little bit of screen time. Because even if he wasn't the fastest, this series seems to have proven if you can stay out of trouble, you deserve a good finish.
Still out there. That's it.
And Billy Smith, our leader in the LMP2s, has pitted. So Scott McGarvey's already taken his stop. We don't expect him to be anywhere close to be threatening to jumping him. And in fact, don't think even Ross Booth is going to pass him, even though Booth has yet to take his second stop. Yeah, Booth is not going to be able to get to the front stretch, so Billy Smith won't even lose the lead here. It was a clean stop at about 20 seconds. 6 seconds longer than Scott McGarvey. I wonder if he just was taking some leeway.
Yep. That's
Maybe he took
Billy
tires.
Smith. No need to get fancy. Just making sure he's good to go.
He's been robbed of some wins before. Ross Booth hits his stall. He takes his scheduled stop. That's going to hand second back to Scott McGarvey. Ross Booth was racing with Kevin O'Keefe, maybe about 4 seconds between them, so that could yet become a battle. Go ahead.
Bradley Haley is coming into pit road to complete his final stop of the race. Dakota Fripp, though, he's going to stay out, though. So we're going to have to keep an eye, see who else is going to see. Looks like Kevin Santana is also coming down pit road. Bradley Haley waiting to be dropped to go. Still waiting right now. Let's take a look, see. I think he just been released. Yes, indeed. About a 23-second stop, so he should be good to go, as we also see another Ferrari that looked like McGarvey as well continue on. That's going to drop him back to third position now. No battle for Dave Hill. He's about another 8 seconds back. 5 seconds on closing, but I think he's about to come down pit road as well. So we'll have to keep an eye, see what Fripp and McGarvey do. Oh! Nope, never mind. No issues at all. There's no issues at all.
19 minutes left to go now. Waiting on mainly the last of the GTEs to come in and take their stops. Other than that, it is only Alan Hasebeck and the LMP2s who has yet to stop up there. All the LMP1s have finished theirs. Let's take a look at Hasebeck. Haven't given him a whole lot of screen time. He's sitting within the top 5 in his class.
About 30 seconds behind Kevin O'Keefe, about a minute ahead of David Sockrider.
little bit of a lockup into Honda, but no harm, no foul for the number 31. I wonder if this is the calm before the storm, Bill. With this series tends to give us crazy final 5 minutes here in this series, but I'm seeing a lot of cars very far apart from each other. And
I just went through the entire grid trying to look for anybody that was within 5 seconds of each other, and it really
nobody.
isn't. So, yeah.
Fripp still leading, waiting for him to come in for his final stop. Sandwiched between a couple prototype cars. That's Ross Booth just ahead of him, third in the LMP2s. And the one that just overtook him is Lionel Duprat, third in the LMP1s.
Taylor, it's got to be kind of reassuring when a black stripe driver shows up in your series and you're still able to beat him. I get Bradley Haley's got to be feeling pretty good.
Yeah, that seems pretty good to stay in front of him, but we still have a little under 19 minutes left in the race, so a lot can happen. If we see Fripp get a good pit stop, which he's still going to stay out another lap, so I don't know when he's really going to pit. He should be coming down.
Yes. Doesn't look like this time by Stephen McGarvey. He's coming out of MG. Let's see if our current points leader in the GTE class, he elects to stay out as well.
He's going to try to stay out as long as he can in order to try to even see if he can maybe pass Fripp and maybe see. It's a long shot, but he could maybe sneak the win away if he is able to beat him off pit road or through pit strategy. So keep an eye on McGarvey, but Bradley Haley is closing in now. As we saw McGarvey come out of Duan, we see Bradley Haley just go in and out going through the southern loop, so they're not too far apart. So if McGarvey does pit, this will give the second position back to Bradley Haley.
Absolutely. Are you sure, though, that McGarvey could catch Fripp? Because it's 19 seconds between them. That's a pretty big gap. I'm not sure how McGarvey would be able to get that.
If there was a way, well, like for example, we saw that instance where DeVries took tires. Maybe a small miscommunication on pit road might happen. Speeding penalty possibly. Even though it is a world championship driver, even some of the best can make mistakes.
This is very true. So we're riding on the rear wing of Steven. This is not going to give away his points lead this time at least, but yet again finding himself without taking another win. Acebeck has come in and out as the last of the LMP2s to need his stop.
DeVries trying to cut into Anders' lead, and he is doing it. He's not doing it quick enough.
Yeah, it's down to 9 seconds. I think the shine has come off of those tires.
Yeah.
Last time by a 14.2, still slower than that 13.8, about a half a second. So not as fast, but that's still inroads. He's going to have to hustle if Jason DeVries wants to try and add to his tally of victories. Talked about only 2 cars on the lead lap up in the LMP1s. We've currently still got 9 of them left on the lead lap. And the GTEs, Kevin Santana racing to try and run down that lead in the AM Championship. Not his best finish. He got an 8th last time out. He's been beat by the likes of Lindsay the last few rounds. So Lindsay not showing up is certainly a boon to the 903.
Yeah, Kevin Santana trying to gain as much points as he can in order to try and close that gap on Lindsay. It's going to be a little difficult, though, with 2 rounds, but with Lindsay not being here, this can be a bit of a booster to help him out. So we'll have to definitely see how the points will be come next round when we go to Suzuka.
So second in that AM Championship. Not sure if you mentioned that, Joe. I was doing a little multitasking, so if you did, I apologize.
Yep, we're talking about how this is going to help him in the points for that. He's 20 behind Actually, I'm not sure how many they get for a 9th place finish.
Yeah, that's the problem in the AM Championship. I talked about it when I was running down the points. A 13-point gap when you're between first and second in like the Pro Division, much different than the 13-point gap in the AM class, because you just don't pick up the same points down there.
As he works his way out of the southern loop, Santana's been doing a pretty good job of staying consistent, at least. He has been an AM champion himself in the past here in the Autobahn series.
Yeah, I have an issue with that. Once you're an AM champion, I don't think you can repeat as AM champion. You should lose your amateur status.
Well, and they've been talking as well in the forums about how they want to handle the AM status for next season. So I'll be curious to see if they change the system or if they keep it the same. I believe right now it's mostly decided by your iRating.
Yeah, my call for fan vote didn't go over. Well, I was hoping.
Yeah, for those not familiar, iRating, basically the sim that you see right here, iRacing, uses a calculation depending on the official races you run. This is a league race. This does not count as official. To determine your iRating, basically by how you finish around the other drivers around you and their iRating. It's all very complicated to try and figure out, but the short version of it is the higher you finish up in the order, the more iRating you gain. The lower you finish, the more you lose. So Kevin Santana currently running with an iRating of 1718.
And my iRating of 1300. Clearly there are some problems with the system.
So Haley's still yet to take... No, Haley has taken his stop, excuse me. And he's waiting for McGarvey and Fripp to take theirs. Haley is the highest driver to have taken his final stop, and we expect him to easily retake the lead. But is McGarvey going to stay out and get in his way? That's a question.
Right now, though, he's been holding on, as we see in that.
No, he's not.
McGarvey is going in. That will give Haley the position.
Oh, the front windscreen, we saw that little blip heading down the pit lane. Stephen McGarvey finally raises the white flag and has to take a little bit more fuel, and we'll get demoted back down to third. I have to look and see how many thirds he's gotten so far this season, because I feel like he's had a lot of them.
Well, like with Simonic, with all the wins, we see McGarvey taking all the third place positions just about throughout the season, except for those couple of fifth place finishes he had a couple of weeks ago. So it's just two different opposite, and just showing that consistency is key to get you into the points lead, as we see with McGarvey. And even though you can win the most races like we see with Simonic, just having those couple of bad races like we see right now and what we saw like at Most Sport could be another one, could cost you a championship.
You watched McGarvey go out, and now Peterson going to join him, heading down that pit exit lane, trying to get his speed up.
Dakota Fripp going around one more time.
Well, I mean, he is a black stripe driver.
That's
Are
right.
we really that surprised that he's also good at fuel saving out here? So I'll have to double check. I want to say that he is a black stripe over on the GT side of things. Well, I guess both the World Championships are now GT drivers, but the endurance side, I should say.
That lead between the gap between Andra and De Vries down to now just under 8 seconds.
So he's continuing to close.
Joe, we've seen races where we've ridden off that interval, where the leader in Ander's position will make a mistake, and all of a sudden the gap matters. So
Absolutely.
He's not mistake free right now.
Yeah, that number 24, and I have to think that he's probably pushing. Let's see, how many cars are between himself and Jason? Oh, like 2, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, so he can see in his F3 box, he can see Jason coming. Maybe he's turned it off then. Maybe he just doesn't want to look at it. He's just focusing on his race. And it sounds like our leader is in the GTE.
Yep, Dakota Fripp decides to finally pull it down pit road. Now the thing is, when will Bradley Haley get to him? And if we will have a race for this final 9 minutes, under 9 minutes left to go. As we see Fripp just getting a splash and dash.
Ow.
And that was, as we see Haley now, he's coming out of
seconds. And Haley was 13 seconds.
This reminds me so much of another driver that we all know and love in the GT races right now, as we see DeVries now getting by Dakota Fripp. He's still going to hold on to the lead. And we got ourselves a race, ladies and gentlemen, so make sure to stay tuned to this GT battle. Bradley Haley coming for Dakota Fripp, but Dakota's still going to be able to try to pull out this lead. That's why he has the black stripe. So it's going to be quite the race to watch, Joe.
2.5 seconds, the gap from the number 29 to the 428. Haley has got to be thinking to himself, not again. He has got to give chase. He is still going to finish ahead of McGarvey, but that's fewer points that he is going to gain on the current points leader in the GTE class. I don't know. 7 minutes is, especially with the speed we've seen from the number 29, I don't know that Haley's going to be able to run him down.
I don't know either, because for a while we saw that Haley was trying to catch up to Dakota, but yet was unable to catch him. And also vice versa, when Dakota was giving chase to Bradley Haley, Dakota was not even gaining ground. So I think these two might be a little bit matched, but we'll have to really see. Bradley is trying to do his best to try to close that gap, coming now out of the final corner. It's going to be an interesting race, Joe. Let's just see what happens with these two.
Speaking of the interesting races, I checked in on the lap times between Andra and DeVries. Last lap, I think Andra has responded. They matched each other down to only 0.06 apart. Look at that on screen.
Yeah, DeVries had it down to 6.5 seconds, and I think Cy said, all right, that's enough of that.
Indeed, he's found something underneath him, but is that going to force an error out of him? He's given up the lead twice, both of them in the same corner, the southern loop. So he deals with a little bit of traffic ahead of him. That is the likes of Scott McGarvey.
Just to follow up on this GTE battle, Haley was ahead, right, of Fripp when they came in for that last pit stop? So this is truly an undercut?
It absolutely is. Yeah, Fripp was only in for 4 seconds, and Haley was stationary for 13. Wow. So, one thing that I want to mention here in the final stages, as it's been an endurance weekend, if there ever was one, for a lot of these drivers, as we've seen a number of them, not just here in Autobahn, but also in the majors from last night, a 2.4-hour race, and the 24 hours of Daytona. Many drivers ran in a team this weekend, including a number of the AM drivers. They put together a team this weekend to see how they could do, and they felt pretty proud of themselves because they qualified 12th, and they finished 7th in their split. With no damage on the car.
Wow.
And that includes the likes of Christopher Sherburne, Matt Owens, Dale Green, Sheldon Woloshin, Armando Edwards, David Fernandez, and Ian Roskell. And that was the Gone Broke Racing team that got together. Oh, and I'm getting some information. A source has pulled me aside, saying that Dakota didn't put enough fuel in.
That makes some sense.
I was shocked. I was like, wow, that is a huge jump.
Hang on there, Dakota.
He's going to try to hang on, but Bradley Haley is closing that gap a little bit now.
Here he comes.
Nope, he's going to come in. He did not want to risk it and run out of fuel in this race, so give the lead back over to Bradley Haley. Bradley's got a little bit of a sigh of relief now, wondering what in the world happened. Now he's back up towards the front of the race.
Joe, I'm sorry for Dakota, but I'm happy for GSRC because I thought maybe we might have missed something there. It wasn't making sense to me.
I was just amazed. Well, even black stripe drivers can miscalculate their fuel. Is he coming back out ahead of McGarvey? Yes, he is. So he's still going to get second place. That's got to frustrate Steven in the number 1. With 3 minutes to go, as I believe it was Taylor that said it, Bradley Haley breathes a huge sigh of relief. This will be his second win this season. If he can keep it together, it is now a much bigger gap back to Dakota Fripp at 21 seconds. That, as we go on board with Brad, watching him race around, Sayandra may have responded, but the traffic seems to have played a part. It is now under 5 seconds between himself and DeVries. And DeVries is setting a blistering pace. He's now down to a 1:12.3 is his fastest lap. In fact, his last 3 laps have all been in the 1:12s, whereas Sayandra had a 1:14, a 1:13, and finally a 1:12. That explains the sudden jump.
Andra comes around right now. It looks like this and one more.
Yeah, two laps to go now. Can Andra withstand the pressure? And what happened to Jason DeVries? Did he intentionally take tires? Was this an error? I'd love for him to come and talk to us after the race is over so that we can find out why he spent time going up on the jacks. Maybe that's standard strategy. Maybe Sayandra was the one that pulled the wool over everybody's eyes and decided to risk going without tires. He's going to get the white flag this next time across the line. No battles in the other classes anywhere that I can see. Billy Smith is your leader in the LMP2s. Bradley Haley is your leader in the GTEs. This is the one to watch. Sayandra comes up to Swan Corner. The white flag ready to wave for him. It is now down to 3.2 seconds as he sneaks to the inside of the leader in the LMP2s, Billy Smith. That time by a 1:14.9 for Sayandra. A 1:13.3 for Jason DeVries. But he's got to close 3.5 seconds in one lap. Never say never. Traffic could get in the way of the number 24. Could he maybe have short-fueled it a little bit? That could cause him to slow up at the end. He could yet still make a mistake. So we take a look at DeVries still pushing hard to try and run him down. Another of the drivers came in. Mark Wilson seems to have taken extra stop. Not sure what caused that. That's going to give fourth to Daniel Gralty, who fought his way back after early problems. Sayandra, 2 off courses in the same corner in one race. Doesn't look like it's going to slow him down here today. Because with one fast corner left to go, the number 24 is finally going to get another win here at Phillip Island, kicking off the Pacific leg of the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge. He's going to be followed by the winner in the LMP2's Billy Smith, just coming to the line behind him. A well-earned victory, redemption from last round. Oh, and was Haley between them?
Haley was right in between it.
Oh, sorry, wow.
Bradley.
Sorry about that to you as well, Taylor. I didn't know that. I think we got the replay of the win. Almost 30 seconds, I think, at the line over Stephen McGarvey. There he is, crossing the line.
Bradley Haley finally gets another win this season and tries to peck a little bit away on the points championship. As we see, McGarvey still coming home in the second position with Dave Hill rounding out that top 3. Dave Hill with a really good run here today, so give him a round of applause.
Absolutely. A nice little podium for the Canadian. think that's going to be the last of our cars now streaming across the line. So let's take a short break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. And on screen, you'll see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome back to Phillip Island. We just watched round 12 here in the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sportscar Challenge. 2 rounds remain after this one. And while it probably isn't enough to really bring the fight to Jason DeVries, Cy Andra did manage to take the win. And I can't imagine what he's feeling knowing he had 2 offs and gave away the lead twice to Jason. Jason did come home in second, and Lionel Duprat gets himself a 3rd place, a podium out there, although 2 laps down from the leaders. Daniel Gralty finishes in 4th, and rounding out the top 5 of those who finished here in the LMP1s is Mark Wilson.
The man was on fire as he goes wire to wire. Billy Smith gets the win and closes the gap a little bit on Scott McGarvey, who has to settle for 2nd. Ross Booth had a quiet 3rd. Kevin O'Keefe was up as high as 2nd position, but ends up in 4th position ahead of Alan Haysback. David Sockriders after that. Chris Pence, a very quiet 7th. And then we should mention the Sheldon Rosenbaum down there did not finish. Taylor?
Your winner in the GTE class, Bradley Haley, takes home a surprise victory here at Phillip Island, followed by Stephen McGarvey in 2nd. Good points run for him today as he continues his podium fit streak. Dave Hill will round out your top podium finish with a really good run for third. Leif Peterson comes home in the 4th position, followed by Emmanuel Agiri. They did a really good job rounding out your top 5. Kevin Santana will come home in 6th position in class, followed by Mark Prodowski in 7th. Dakota Fripp with that late pit stop again after short pitting. He'll come home in the 8th position, followed by Matt Owens in 9th. Dean Moe will round out your top 10 in the GTE class, followed by Samuel Scott, then Sheldon Woloshin, Tim McLeish, and Christopher Sherburne, and Alex Simonik. Those drivers had DNF. Brendan Garcia, Sheldon Rosenbaum, Robert Cantian, and John Ulmer as well. All those drivers did not get to see the checkered flag here today.
And with that, that brings us to our interviews, including our race winner here today, Cy Andra. Cy, we saw you have 2 offs in the Southern Loop and thought that this wasn't your race, unfortunately, especially with how hard you were fighting with Jason DeVries. But then the last pit stop happened. I mean, from your perspective, what is taking tires normal in these LMP1 cars on the last stop, or what happened there?
I was incredibly flustered when I first saw I'd left the pits and he came out 13 seconds behind me, which was exactly the delta for tires. And I had to do a quick think for myself. I was like, wait. Are these tires worn out? Do I need to change them? Has he just pulled something out of the hat? Am I about to lose this race because I forgot about tires? And I'm guessing he just forgot to not change them because I had not much, but I had some rubber left on the tires at the end of the race. And I think it was just an oops moment from Jason, which is not something we see every day.
Well, yeah, and that's why we were so shocked as well up in the booth to see that happen. Now, obviously, he was closing in at the end. Did it enter your mind the earlier mistakes that you made in the race at any point during that last stint, or were you able to push it out?
Oh, I was, forgive the term, but absolutely eating my seat, if that would make sense, as he was chasing me down. But I kind of just focused on getting through traffic because that was kind of where I was going around the outside of the Southern Loop. I just decided not to try it. And I don't think you see me pass another car on the outside there for the rest of the race. And that's pretty much the only problem area for me. So barring that, I think I knew I had it locked in.
So we're staying for one more race here in the Pacific region up at Suzuka. Can you pull another one up there, or do you think it's going to take another unexpected event like we had in the pits?
Oh, I think my experience in Neo will help me at that track.
Ooh. Interesting response there from Cy Andra. Congratulations on the victory. You gave us a fantastic race with Jason up at the front.
Yeah, hopefully Suzuka will be a little bit calmer.
That was Cy Andra, our winner here today in the LMP1s. Bill's talking to our winner. It's 2 Bills, actually. Billy Smith in the conversation with him.
Billy Smith's picking up his 3rd win of the season. Billy, doing 90 minutes at Phillip Island is never easy, but you kind of made it look that way. How was it?
Well, it was a lot of fun, Bill. I knew from the very beginning that that qualifying was going to be super important here. The prototypes just get insane amounts of aero wash at the fast corners here at Phillip Island, and I knew that was going to be a really important part of it. I didn't think that passing would be very easy at all unless there was a mistake or lap traffic got involved, and I think that's kind of what happened.
Any incidents or any close calls out there with the traffic?
I probably took a little bit more risk than I should have through turn 1 a couple of times. We're just the closing rate is insane on the GTE cars, and so I probably took a little bit of risk there. I tried to just be really smooth and not make any mistakes. I'm sure there's several people I saw from my perspective. You get a little wide here, you get in the grass, and you're going for a ride. There's no runoff, so I was just trying to be really conservative and not over push the corners if I was making passes on the outside. Trying to just take it really easy and make sure that, I mean, if I lost half a second, that was fine. But if I went off in the grass, I was going to lose a lot more.
Okay, 2 races to go. You've got yourself 3 wins. You're in the hunt for the championship. Going into the season, starting the season, if you would have been in this position, you say, I'll take it, or are you disappointed with how things have turned?
I'm doing a lot better than I think. I was able to close in some speed. I think I was lacking just a little bit on McGarvey and a little bit more on Gerard. And I think, like I mentioned before, I think the new build has kind of suited me a little bit, and I was able to find a little bit more speed out of the car. So I'm pretty happy with where I am. Be a little bit more happy if I can claw that lead away from McGarvey.
Got to at least make it count when we get to that final race. Hey, congratulations on another win. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks, Bill.
Billy Smith, the LMP2 winner today. Joe?
And our last winner that we are going to talk to, we'll have one more interview after that, is Bradley Haley. Taylor has caught up with him to see how he feels after a victory that nearly looked like it wouldn't happen.
Yes, indeed. Bradley Haley here with us today, our winner in GTE. Bradley, I'm pretty sure you have a big sigh of relief now after what I would say would be a very interesting race in the GTE category. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I feel really sorry for Alex with that accident. Him and Dakota had probably 2 to 3 tenths on me, it seemed like. And when I got about halfway with fuel, I thought, maybe I'll just try and change it up a little bit and not take enough fuel. I only took, I think, 40 liters. And so that kind of threw me back in the mix again, which I didn't expect it to, but it worked out pretty well. And then, Alex got crushed. And then, I knew it'd be close. I knew Dakota was faster than I was. I didn't think it would be that close, but then I guess, I'm guessing he ran out of fuel from what I'm hearing, but I have other thoughts.
What was your thought on that, about that, when you realized how quickly Dakota was in pit road and realized that you had to still go after and chase him until you realized he had a pit?
Yeah, he threw down 23.9, and I didn't even get close to that today. On really old tires, I knew I didn't have a chance unless traffic got in the way like it did several times already during the race. But just stuff happens, and I got lucky, and I'll take the points and the win.
Of course. And one final question: do you think maybe you could take the fight to maybe get a second, or maybe close in on Stephen McGarvey?
Man, that's a good question. The last couple tracks I'm pretty confident in, so we'll see how it shakes out. And it's traffic too, because like today, Alex dominated, but sometimes traffic gets in the way and kind of messes up the plan. So hopefully we'll see. It should be fun. It'll be exciting.
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time at Suzuka. Again, congratulations on your win, Bradley.
All right, man. Thanks.
That was our winner in the GTE class, Bradley Haley. And we've now caught up with second place in the LMP1s. Jason DeVries is with us. Jason, the question everybody wants to know isn't who shot JR, it's whether or not taking tires was intentional there.
That is a great question. Just a little mistake on my part. I've just been so used to run the DP in the 24, and the pit stops are like fix-it-int, where you just set it and forget it. So it just it didn't work out. I almost came back with it, but just a little bit of a mental mistake on my side. But I thought it was a really good race. So we were pretty evenly matched, and just really had a lot of fun out there.
Well, the good news for you, obviously, is that you still got a pretty big lead over Cy Andra and only 2 rounds left to go. Do you take that as consolation, even though you lost the win?
Yeah, I came in, I'd really never run a race at this track before. I maybe had 20, 30 laps. So I just spent most of the session trying to learn the track, and then secondly, build a setup. So come home second and just be competitive and show up, and that's all I could hope for. So it's a moral victory. Even though I didn't get the winner's interview, it's a success in my book.
It's interesting to know. It makes it even more impressive how fast you were running. Now, Cy gave us some interesting answers about how he feels going into Suzuka. What about you? Any tricks up your sleeve at the over-under figure 8?
About
I think we lost Jason there.
You got me?
In and out, Jason. Yep, now we got you.
My key is cutting out on me. Sorry about that. Anyways, I've done about 100 laps with Cy at Suzuka in practice, and we've done Neo together. Everything he said is true. It's going to be an uphill battle. I've got some pace, but he's a really good target to chase after, and it's going to bring the best out of myself. So I just hope that we have a really good race, and I'm looking forward to it.
All right, we're looking forward to it as well. That was Jason DeVries, our second place finisher in the LMP1s, and that's going to close us out for today here in round 12 of the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sportscar Challenge. And of course, before we go, we want to give a big thank you to John Ulmer and his team of people who help him organize these races. John didn't get a good finish today, but he should be proud of the series he's put together and the amazing races that it puts on. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. You can see them listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Bill, Taylor, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Now, if you go to our YouTube page here on GSRC and you see a big red button that says subscribe, that means you're not subscribed to us yet. Fix that. Make sure and subscribe, because then you can catch all the action with all the various series that we cover here on GSRC. The next race, as we mentioned, we're going over to Japan. That'll be Suzuka, Monday, February 4th at 9:15 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.